Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ Podcast. My name is Mike.
And this is Joe.
And if you're watching on video, you notice we have two gentlemen sitting next to me. This is Jordan Marshall and Sean Big Daddy McKee. Say hello to everybody.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having us.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing?
Yeah. So we should mention up front, we are pre-recording this episode because we're all going to be in Las Vegas when this drops.
Yep.
And we mention that because if anything happens in the world of music or DJing that we don't mention, it's because this is pre-recorded. So we're taping
don't
this.
Think we're not on top.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that has happened, right, Joe? Joe, you and I pre-recorded once, and it was like that mass shooting in Las Vegas or something. And I'm like, oh, I think we should mention from now on because people must have tuned in and been like, I can't believe those guys are ignoring the news.
Right.
Yeah, didn't talk about that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was during Wedding NBA.
Yeah. So this will drop the week that we're in Mobile Beat.
Yep.
But, you know, Joe, I thought this was a great opportunity when we have these two gentlemen on. You and I never, ever talk about mitzvahs, ever.
Correct.
Right? And that's mainly because
we don't do them.
And I don't personally do them. As a company, Elite does a handful every year, but not the big productions that you guys do. We do those mitzvahs where, you know, the families basically call and say, it's not really a mitzvah, it's a 13-year-old birthday party, that type of thing. So it's just not the thing that we don't have any experts in it.
Right.
And I leave that to people like you who do them.
1,000% the reason we don't do them is because we don't have anyone that can do them well. So again, if somebody called, kid happened to be Jewish, said, hey, we need, you know, low-key 13-year-old birthday party, you know, age-appropriate music, clean edits, just need a DJ, I got you. But, you know, interactivity, games, sparklers, baby angels flying in from the ceiling, you know.
You've seen those too?
Yes, I've seen those. It's brand new from Explosive Entertainment.
That's right.
But can I just tell my one mitzvah story from my very first seminar? So
yes, I love this
is, and I've told it before, but it's a classic. And I was in New Jersey, in Atlantic City, at the DJ Times Expo. I think Big Daddy, if I'm not mistaken, I mean that was like your platform for years, right? Like you were.
It was.
Yeah, so I think I had just seen a Big Daddy like seminar or maybe open the show or kick off. So, you know. And really coming from North Carolina, it was like culture shock. I mean, like I'm in New Jersey. I knew I was speaking in like ballroom B7, you know, that had 9 or 10 chairs in it. And so anyway, I end up not being in B7. I'm in like a pretty decent sized room. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. And right before I walk in to look at the room, Randy goes, I hope it's huge. Like he just wanted me to just fail. And I remember getting through. And of course, as I always do, I came up short. And at that time, I didn't know that in a massive room, it's probably a bad idea to open it up for Q&A. But I did.
Q&A is the worst.
The worst.
Don't do Q&A.
Yes, no. If you're speaking to a large crowd,
still doing the Q&A now.
Yeah, exactly. So I open it up, and this kid way in the back raises his hands and goes, "Are there any Jews in North Carolina?" And I was like, I go, and I look at Randy sitting on the front row, and I just go, some. And I guess he was just disappointed that he had sat there for 45 minutes and I'd never mentioned anything about mitzvahs because he was like super mitzvah charged up after seeing Big Daddy. And then here comes this redneck to talk about ways to get on the, you know, vendor list or something and never mention mitzvahs. And I just go, some. and just went on to the next question. It was the most random question ever. Anyway,
well, so we've got basically two mitzvah experts next to us, and you and I don't do them. So, I mean, let's start with probably a question that could take us to the end of the podcast. But tell us how mitzvahs are different than weddings. And you and Adam kind of danced around that last night, but
we did.
But I'd love to kind of drill down on that. I'm a wedding DJ. If I want to get into mitzvahs, what does it take for me to kind of make that leap?
You know, mitzvahs are very family based. Not that a wedding isn't, but you know, I feel like when you're talking to a bride and groom, it's usually the bride, the groom, maybe like the mother of the bride. Maybe there's like one other or two other, you know, people close in the family that might help plan and come in and check it out. When you meet with a mitzvah family, they're coming in through to your office with their entire family of 7. You know, they have like baby in one hand and, the two twins sitting playing their video games on the other while you're talking to mom and dad and the sister who already had her bat mitzvah. So you're getting the whole family in a shot. So, I think, and I talked about this last night, knowing your audience and who you're kind of talking to and trying to, pitch your services to, by asking questions, finding out what they're about, the culture of the family, what they're into. So I think that, that sort of development, being able to bring that to the table and, touch base a little more one-on-one with these families, that's something that kind of separates it from, your brides and your grooms who are already doing the research online. They're checking everything out with websites and Instagram and Facebook and, everything's so available out there. They're doing their homework, whereas the families are coming to your office and they're like, hey, tell me about your service.
Okay.
Kind of, from your mouth. Like,
what about at the event, Sean? And Sean, you do both, and I know you do as well, Jordan, right? You do weddings too. So, Sean, the performance itself at the event, how are they different?
The event is more. The thing is, it starts from cocktail hour. Cocktail hour at weddings is, sit back, tapping your feet. Hopefully, you're doing a nice job with your mitts. You got to start right from those. What I do now is I got kids. My dancers are greeting the kids off the bus. They all come in a bus. And they're greeting them, hey, welcome to Jordan's bar mitzvah. Everybody, let's have a good time. Head them to the dance floor. You are on from the time those kids walk out of that bus till the time we're done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the total difference, because cocktail hours at weddings are, just people eating and drinking as much as they humanly can consume in the hour. And what Jordan brought up before was perfect, because your sales pitch doesn't start until after you get to know your family. Mm-hmm. The sister, the brother, everything else, and then the bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, and you're totally on stage when it comes to the bar mitzvah itself. You're on stage from minute one till the end.
Cool. Jordan, this is probably a good opportunity for you. Talk about this Mastering Mitzvah podcast. I know we talked about it last week, but just in case we have anybody
that's cool.
new
This
tuning
has been
in.
a new venture that myself and my partner Mike Langsner over at Explosive, we kind of wanted to put together, and we've been talking about some sort of podcast or some way to kind of pay it forward to the clients who are trying to develop these outside the box bar and bat mitzvahs, get some cool ideas. Whether you're a family that's done, this is your first, mitzvah attempt and, you're just getting things started, or maybe it's a family that you've done, you have 3 kids and this is the third one and you just want some fresh ideas. We, over the years, do a really good job of playing nice in the sandbox. So we've come up with some really cool and innovative ideas as a brand, but we also have great professionals that we lean on in the industry too, that we're going to be bringing to the table every week, along with myself and Mike doing, the cast as well, as a whole, to bring information. Maybe it's a cool new venue. Maybe it's a cool new decor tactic. Maybe there's a new line of LED, lounge furniture that's out. These cool, items that can really help, elevate the mitzvah, the end product, the end result to the next level. So we're going to have these features each and every week, and hopefully people get some great content out of it.
Great. So the podcast is geared for clients, but DJs can certainly tune in. Correct. And you think they'll get something out
Absolutely,
of it.
100%, because even taking our episode that we did, a couple weeks ago when we first, put this thing out to everybody, it's about the shoulda, woulda, coulda. Everybody has their weekends. Joe, Mike, Sean, we all go out every weekend and we, gig our hearts out. And there's probably things that you thought might have gone a certain way that, maybe you could choose to do again in a different light. Maybe you did a really good job at something. You want to highlight that. So we're also going to speak about these things too. We're full transparency. I feel like the only way to really get better and to level up our own product and also to give, true informational content is to show it on both ends, because it's perfect. It's good.
So you mentioned upgrades in your answer there, and you're going to be talking about that. To me, that's one of the biggest differences. I mean, weddings, you certainly have an opportunity between lighting and maybe video screens and a photo booth. But, I mean, the opportunity for upgrades at a mitzvah seems endless. So to tell us some of the things that you guys, have seen or can offer your clients that are way different than what weddings would even be interested in.
So we doing some really cool stuff. Fun food stations, which are great. We actually build full-on kiosks that towards the end of the event, for a little extra nosh. So
that walking away food
correct,
that we're starting to see at weddings too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So instead of just some pretzels on a wall, which is cool and looks great with a chalkboard, that you see at the weddings on like kind of as the big send off. Mm-hmm. We actually build a big Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks kiosk or Krispy Kreme, and everything's branded with the bar mitzvah boy or the bat mitzvah girl's logo. It's got their color accents on the donuts, so everything has a vibe and a flair to it, all of the family that you're working with. So, things like this we build in-house, and, we can kind of crank out as a cool upsell or a product. Lounge furniture, LED dance floors, cool hip new photo booths that are a little bit more than just the simple, click and get your picture. We have a 360 video motion photo station that we're messing with now, which is really cool, which incorporates a lot of video as well as stills, so you get some really cool images out of that.
You showed a stage diving thing last night too. I mean, that blew my mind. Tell us about that.
It was a really cool idea. We were actually going through the warehouse and seeing, what we have in-house that we can kind of create that is, little overhead cost that would, make something cool. So out of some simple trussing, a backdrop that we printed up that looks like a rock concert with some lights and stage on it as the backdrop, and a stage like right in the front, which is one of our dance platforms that we use anyway at the parties. We created a stage dive photo booth where, the kids and guests.
And you have an air mattress there. Correct. So people can it was, Joe, you had to see this thing. It was amazing.
I can't, yeah.
You showed a picture. I'm like, I want to do that. Can you set that up sometime? I really want to dive into that.
And we actually have it says, the rock concert on it, but you could brand it with the logo. Everything's all about this event branding, especially with the mitzvahs is big, is carrying that logo or that look and, pop culture and labels, like everything from, an ESPN style look to a Supreme fashion look to, a sports team, a Major League Baseball logo. Like these families are looking to incorporate based on the culture of the family, what they like to do. That's taking on the look. So you're finding these big brand names and these big pop culture, icons are becoming the fuel for the event.
Right. That's right. Cool. And there was a woman there last night that was showing T-shirts, and so that's a big thing at a mitzvah. Like every kid there will get
swag.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Hey, cool. Mike, are you going to get into just not to be too personal, but how much people are spending on these things and stuff?
Why don't you get into that?
All right, let me, because I know that the recent research that I've seen, I think the average cost of a wedding used to be around $25,000. I think it's in excess of a little over 30 now. Give us just some insight, gentlemen, Jordan and Sean, about how much, not necessarily with your company, because that's getting a little bit personal, but what do you think the budgets are for some of these things? Are you seeing that kind of behind the scenes stuff? I'm just as somebody that doesn't do these, I'm super curious as to how much people are spending on this type of event.
It all depends on the family itself, because the first phone call that you'll get in some of the smaller areas up by me, well, we just want a simple DJ MC, and it could be in the temple itself with no decorations, no afterthought, what Jordan was just talking about, so that you could go from, in my area, anywhere between 10 grand to over 150 to 200,000.
Jeez whiz. Where do you go from there as a family? If you drop $200K on a mitzvah, what do you do 10 years later when that person gets me right? How do you top that? It's amazing. Yeah.
It really is crazy, Joe and Mike. I literally have done events where the family has spent $30,000 to $50,000 on professional concert talent.
Yeah.
In addition to the event
to do 2 songs or something,
supporting artists or a live acts. So it's insane. It really is.
Wow. Anyway,
crazy.
Next level.
So I forget whether it was you or Adam last night talked about mitzvah therapist. And it made me realize, I guess the mitzvah, there's a term in weddings, bridezillas, and there are certain brides that we all know kind of get manic like that. But mitzvah moms can be the same way?
Yeah, I think just again, it depends. You get moms that are the big micromanager, you get super detailed, and then you also get, a mom who's a little bit more laid back that, I think that always the first one. So if it's their first, their son, their daughter, that's kicking off the actual, act of being a bar mitzvah or being a bat mitzvah, it's a lot more nerve-wracking. When I got bar mitzvah way back, I was, I'm the oldest in my family, so my mother had never gone through this, and she also never had the luxury of things like Pinterest or Instagram or the internet to even see pictures or get ideas. Right. So she had a giant trapper keeper. Remember trapper keepers, Joe?
Yeah, sure.
There you go, man.
That's old school Google right there, right? Sure. That's where you kept all the answers.
Right. Yeah, she had her whiteout, and she had her, her little partitions and tabs. And I'm telling you, man, that was her Bible,
project.
or Torah, as us Jewish folk like to call it. So that was really what it was about. So I think that if it's your first one, it's a lot more strenuous. You're like, where do I go? Who do I talk to? You're dialed up a lot more. If this is your third one, and you've been down the road before, a lot of it's cut and paste when it comes to usually the entertainment. I mean, we have a pretty good rebooking ratio at our company, where if you use us once, we got you for life, which is great because we're constantly, innovating and trying to change the product up a little bit to keep it, compliant with the times of what's going on. So I think that's a big thing is where you are and where it falls on the number of mitzvahs that family's done. That's a big thing.
Hey, Jordan, while you're on mic, do you remember your mitzvah and like the entertainment and stuff? And is that what kind of, did that deter you from wanting to be an entertainer, or did it spark like the
You know what's funny, man? I never knew that I wanted to do anything. I knew that I just liked to be in the mix. I love meeting people. I was a big people. I needed to make first touches. I needed to like speak with you, talk to you, find out what you were all about. But I never really learned to equate it to entertaining until much later. I played music. I played live music in high school. I played a little bit of piano, a little bit of guitar, and I sang a little bit.
Yeah.
And we had a pretty cool back in high school. I had a cover band that I was in, and we used to rock, and it was awesome. We get on stage.
Yeah.
That first time when you captivate that audience and you got them and they're doing whatever you say, and it's awesome. And it was such a rush. It was such a great feeling. I'm like, I need more of this. So that was kind of like my first taste of entertainment and how I kind of segued in. And my parents are like, hey, this is great that you love your music, but can you find a way to make money doing this?
Yeah.
Please? Like for all of us.
Right.
It is every parent's dream, huh? To get the kid out of the basement at some point.
That's it.
Yeah. So you talking about your bar mitzvah, it begs the question. Yep. We have an Irish guy sitting here and a Jewish man. That's you don't have to be Jewish to do bar mitzvahs, right? So Sean, talk about that as far as a non-Jewish person. The first time you did a mitzvah, did you feel like you were, walking into the unknown?
Well, basically what I did was I shadowed a few guys before I started it. And I also went to temple. I saw what that was all about. You did?
Wow.
I went to temple a couple of times because there's different types of temple. There's different types of, bar and bat mitzvahs, whatever the case may be. But if I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. Mm-hmm. I just watched and learned, and then it just started, and here we are. And I just, now, because I am older, I got all my young guys out front. They do their thing, but they still want Big Daddy at their bar mitzvah. Right. And, when you're talking about repeat clients, everything, last year alone, I did 3, 1 bat mitzvah and 2 bar mitzvah kids' weddings.
Wow.
That I 15
Isn't that amazing?
Years
ago. You did their mitzvah, and now you're doing their wedding.
Now I'm doing their wedding.
That's cool. Do you think you'll be around for their kids' mitzvah?
Oh, God forbid. We'd have to get a guy. I got you on that. You got that for me?
He whips in there on one of those rascals, those little motorized.
Let's go back to one thing that Jordan was talking about, the family dynamic. A lot of times now, you're going to get divorced, separated, whatever. And the moms versus the dad, it's really heavy because sometimes they get along.
Yeah.
Then sometimes they each have their own visions of what they want their daughter or son to have.
Right.
And that tug of war, we get in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's the toughest thing in the world to try and make that middle the best that you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, we see that a little bit at weddings, but yeah, I mean, those are dynamics that when the couple does get along, you respect that, because let's face it, no matter what happened with an ugly divorce, you still created this child, and that person is now getting their mitzvah or getting married. You would think you could put bygones aside.
You would think.
Yeah, but then again, sometimes when the father's there with the secretary who broke up your weddings, marriage, maybe that's
people got to choose their plus one a lot better.
That's
easier said than done. Yeah, exactly.
That's the issue.
Choose your plus one better.
Yes.
So last night at the NJDJN meeting, Marshall spoke about mitzvahs with Adam Hirschhorn, and you two are competitors. And you basically said you can throw a rock, and I know I yelled out, and I said that they said they could throw a rock at each other's office, and I said, how often do you do that? But so talk about that, because I think that that's something I respect greatly. Jason Janai is 5 miles from my office, and yet we are friendly, and we compete, but it's so talk about that with you and Adam.
Honestly, a lot of it is kind of the same dynamic. I've known Adam for probably my entire career as an entertainer. Like I said, Adam's a couple years younger than me. I'm going to be 38 this year. And Adam actually grew up attending parties that I was kind of doing, and he was, frequented the mitzvah scene and the entertainment scene. So he was out, he saw it live, and that's kind of how he got the bug to do it, was by seeing all these other entertainers rocking and rolling. I grew up obviously in the Manalapan area and was very fortunate and blessed to have learned from some really great entertainers. If anybody's familiar with a couple of companies, there's a company called Noble Productions. There's a company called Pure Energy Entertainment out in our area. Greg Mistretta, Brian Lorenko, Lonnie Narson, Mark Dawson. These rock star entertainers that I just, from being in that age range, was privileged to see, and then they kind of like instilled this bug on me. It was pretty easy, always had a mutual respect for what one another did. And we're two different products, just like you and Jason. Right. You know what I mean? So if you're looking for that AJH entertainment product, there are things about Adam's culture and the personality that he instills onto his brand. And same with how we kind of do it over at Explosive with Mike and myself. There's certain, if you look at a client, you're like, that feels like an explosive client. Right. Whereas, an A-sharp client, you can, not an A-sharp client, an AJH client, you see that, it kind of fits. So
I think even just in your names, what is it? What is the name of his company is
AJH.
So that sounds very corporate and professional. Explosive is just hearing that name, you kind of know, and your brand, matches it. You're very outgoing and interactive and high energy. Yeah. So, I know some DJs that if they branded themselves Explosive and then I saw them, I'd be like, dude, you got to change your name. Right. But you fit that brand perfectly.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mine
so listen, with the time that we have left, I'd like to get Sean. By the time this drops, Sean, you will have done your seminar in Mobile Beat. So this isn't a preview of anything, but you're talking about not losing your why. And as you mentioned, you're the oldest sitting here. You've been doing this for a long time. You still do more events, I think, than most people. So you've clearly not lost your passion. You've not lost your why. Give us some of those secrets that you're going to share at Mobile Beat and that you can share now with our listeners. How have you not lost your passion?
Well, one of the things is it took me a long time to figure out what I was really put on this earth to do. It really did. And once I found it and once I got it, I vowed to myself and to my family that I was never, ever going to take advantage of it. And I was never going to let people get me down. Listen, Mike, you know my story from way back. My 2 kids are my life. I left them in 1993 to find my way. I will never lose my way again. And this is what my reason why is the look on people's faces when we get done or when we start, or just a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, Big Daddy, I need your help. This is my reason why. My reason why is to make sure that everybody knows that within the sound of my voice and the touch of my hand, that you know that you've got somebody on your side. And as far as my events go, each and every event I do is a mold, because not every event is the same way. Not every person is the same way. Not every couple, whatever the case may be. So what I'm going to try and get you guys to understand is, do you get burned out? Oh, yeah. You got to take a step back. You got to reach down in the depths of your heart and find a way back. Because what we do, what we get to do on a weekly, daily basis is the most amazing thing ever. We get to spread love. And the way the world is nowadays, Greatest job in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm talking about that at the end of my seminar as well, that we provide an escape. And that's what, and there are maybe worthier causes in life, like curing cancer. Or, I mean, my wife takes care of the elderly. That's pretty freaking worthy. But you know what? In today's day and age, with the stresses and what people deal with, if you can pull people out of that, even if it's just for a couple of hours, and escape on the dance floor. And to me, one of the things that dancing does is it brings us back to our youth, because as you grow up, you don't, I mean, most people don't go to clubs like they used to. They don't cut loose. So when Kelly and I go to a wedding, that's really the only time we dance nowadays. And we feel like we're 25 again. And that's a wonderful, magical thing that we get to bring to people. And it's why I still do what I do. No doubt. I
call it, we get to play the Wizard of Oz for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And because everything that's outside those 4, 6, 8 walls, whatever we're a part of in that room that we're in, we want to make them forget everything that's outside those walls for the 4 or 5 hours.
Yep.
Who's got it better than us?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great job.
Well, Pitbull does, but other than that.
Yeah, well, Pitbull does because he does everybody else.
Jordan, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Honestly, everything's just so well put. I'm super humbled to actually be a part of this podcast right now with 3 of my mentors, people that I look up to in this industry. So
that's Jordan's way of saying we're older.
Hey, listen, you guys all look great. I'm not too far behind you. I'm almost 40. But at the same time, man, like for real, like you guys are all cornerstones within your own right, in your own demographics and the parties that you do and the events that you do and the content you guys put out. So just being a part of this is so great for me. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah, man.
Thanks for being on. We appreciate you. And Big
Daddy, on it,
we
Joe.
Appreciate you. Yeah, let's wrap it.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Like we said, we are. This was pre-taped. Next week, we're going to do a Mobile Beat recap. So tune in next week, and you'll hear all about the highs and lows of the week. And until then, everybody, have an awesome week.
Yes, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.